foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
Good evening, everybody. We are CPS Victims Hunting Justice, coming to you on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday night. I'm going to have some people who join in here in a second, I do believe. So I just wanted to get you guys ready to talk in the box down below on the side there. Get your comments in. Help support the channel the best you can, please, if you can. We're trying to get our word out to the public about CPS and how they victimize families and kids and traffic them. And there's Miss Roz. Good evening, Miss Roz.
How are you? Darren, you're still in the dark?
Darren is in a class right now, so I'm running the show tonight until he gets back.
Okay. So, I don't have anything too good. I've been home all day, so uh, haven't
Have
been
you
out
heard
and
any?
hearing what.
Do you have any new news?
That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard anything much, except that as far as the GOP platform, keeping families together is on the platform. That platform will be adapted in the states.
You have,
Therefore, this
you,
is coming up a good time to know your state people to get any changes made to make it better.
do you know when they're going to be issuing that?
Every state will have its own kind of convention type setup, or like in Ohio, we have a central committee that takes care of that. The counties have their own platform, but we need to get involved so that we can have a voice on these things.
I agree. We definitely do need to get involved with our legislative committees.
Legislative committees are local uh, party.
I see.
Get involved in
I've been noticing a lot of the Republicans out here are starting to despise some of the laws and rules that our governor is making. So,
and that's a good way to start. Get in touch with them and find out what your candidates believe.
yeah, I agree. How about you guys down below?
Look at your
Any new info on your guys' side?
budget.
Hello. Hello. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hi. We've had a day inside too as well. It's been storming out here in Florida. Yes.
Okay.
Really. Yes. Like so much that we've lost all communication with everybody that we've been online with. So we're having a good moment right now in Florida. Yeah. It's good to see you guys, though. Yes, I definitely encourage everyone to go to the polls. Informed. Go informed. Don't just like Christmas tree it.
Right.
That's the American
the
way,
thing is, right now, everybody is gearing up their campaigns for November. Find the candidates you like and find a way to assist them.
Now, as was stated last night on the show, so I can revent the scenario. It's not that we need to get rid of Title 4E funding. We need to change their policies and procedures on it.
Right. You can never totally abolish CPS. You can't. Because what if both parents are killed in a car accident? Let's say, God forbid. All right?
Well, Rod, what would we do? Answer that question for me. What would we do in that case? Family or what? If we didn't have CPS, go back to the old way of doing things, maybe?
I mean,
we would have to excuse the dog. Somebody just came into this half of the house, so he's protecting
the dog has an opinion.
Huh?
The dog has an opinion. Let's listen. I'm playing with
you.
He
does. He does. Unfortunately, he's a Democrat. Without your help. I can't hear you, hon.
You guys can't hear me?
There we go. Now you can.
Okay. Well,
no, my joke is dogs are Democrats and cats are Republicans.
That makes sense to me. But what would we do if a child lost both parents in a car accident, and maybe they're searching for other family and or the people at the hospital, because we do have, like I think you mentioned it the other night. We have churches. We have, or was it? I think it was Roz, wasn't it?
Yes, the church knows.
Yeah, and so
if you have very young children who can't tell you anything, If you
Right.
have kids in school, they can tell you who their teacher is.
Right. That's
Who
right.
may be
So
able
what
to
would
step
we
in.
do? No CPS, just per se, per chance. Ah, per chance to dream. But what if there was no CPS? What would we do?
Then
They would, back then,
I would say,
go
you
on, Penny.
know, mine's set up so if something was to happen to me or happen to my wife, for instance, I asked my older son, who's not part of any of this, he is my two daughters' actual brother, um, to watch out for them, and he said he would.
Wow, oh,
Here's
that's
the
great.
thing. If Carrie
evening,
says
Carrie.
community, and she's right, but there are times that the community won't be able to know enough to, or the children won't know enough to tell who in the community to go to.
So what?
Or the children may be injured as well. And now you have to have, you're going on the doctors and so forth to make those decisions because you don't know yet. The police will eventually go to the house and look for things like aunts and uncles, and maybe their cell phone didn't get broken. But have somebody to negotiate the ins and outs of like out of state family to come get the kids. Basically a paper pusher, CPS, okay? Just someone to navigate getting the kids to where they need to go.
I agree with that.
Now, when the communities were smaller and everybody went to church, that was fine. But try that in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, from where I'm sitting, there's a church across the street. There's one up this way about 4 blocks. There's one that way 4 or 5 blocks. There's an itty bitty one over there at 118th. I'm at 127th. Where are you going to go?
Right. Roz, I haven't told you
Too
this.
big a thing. This is why I say, too, that you need a home church, that you're involved
Yeah.
with. That there's somebody that you can call. You can have these things. You know, Herbert's always saying stay out of CPS's way. One way to do that would be to have in your glove compartment, and I just thought of this, have in your glove compartment ICE instructions in case of emergency.
Right? Exactly.
That's kind of a very
With
smart.
all of it in there.
Carrie, that's a very smart
I never
idea.
thought of that.
It's so smart.
What?
I mean, something as simple as that. I agree totally. And Roz, I haven't told. I'm Mandy. We've met a couple of times now, but you can't. I'm kidding. Just joking.
Your name was under there.
but my
That's how I knew who you were.
You guys got to read this.
Okay.
What Carrie said.
My
is very
family.
true. No, the other one.
Talking. I don't know. Oh no, sorry, Benny. I was just going to tell Roz that my family is from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Parma.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Parma.
Ah, West Side.
All of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an
and
insider.
what's
I'm
that?
East Side. Raised in Bedford, though. That's South Side.
Oh, okay. But you know, they're like your people, right?
Oh yeah.
I love people from Ohio because that's everybody. It all reminds me of my grandma, and my grandma is no longer with us, but she was my. She was my hero, and still is. And Ohio people seem to me to have some sensibility and intelligence and
Thank you.
some wherewithal. But that doesn't mean that they know everything, like none of us do. But
No.
I can relate to you when it comes to that because that's who I.
There we go. We got it up on the screen. That's
Yeah.
what Carrie said. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that is so smart. That should be a requirement. Like when you take the baby from the hospital, you have emergency instructions, not only on your refrigerator, but in your glove compartment. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Roz, that's
If
good.
you have
Carrie,
a new child like Carrie, you should put that on the window where they sit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That way they can touch it though, because they'll rip it off every time. But
Right.
you
Have
know,
it on one of the chains.
my son
One
is
of the windows.
nonverbal and autistic. Well, what if you have a child that is deaf?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
this child is deaf. Um, and have instructions so that we don't have a problem. If somebody tries to communicate with them, they can at least get someone who maybe does sign language if that's what the child knows, or
Of
someone who
course.
gets something off in front of their face so that the child can read their lips.
I agree with that. Yep.
That is
Or
100%.
to hand a paper and pencil to the child,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's an older child. But we don't. It's awful that we have to be this much on guard. It's horrible, but we
It
have
really
to.
is. Well,
We
no,
have
I think you're right. You just brought up a good topic. We've been so traumatized, and I think that everyone's intention from the start was good, but good intentions, and I'm not
Mhm.
going to get into a cliche, but it does happen where, people become traumatized. Let's start a new,
Mhm.
like, all good intentions end up with trauma therapy, but um
Well,
it's true.
I mean that's
We
kind of right in a way because they had good intentions for CPS when they first started out,
Mhm.
and over the years they just built up their own policies due to the chevron. Um, and now that
Yeah.
they've taken that away, it changes how their jurisdiction lies, um, because no longer hold that.
Awesome
I,
idea, Carrie. And Mandy, I think I'm the only one. Well, me and Herbert have not had direct children's services in our lives. That isn't how we started. I have had
I mean,
since as a retaliation, but I didn't. That's not how I started this. So I don't have that trauma that, not being mean, but may cloud how things are seen.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I did their services, but not until many years later did I just I think I'm a little bit different too, in that I come from being a counselor with them, and then actually being with, so I have like several different perspectives, but I hear you. It's not
mhm.
all bad, but please keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that's fine. It was someone that worked with my live-in boyfriend that had CPS involved in their lives after I had had paralegal training. And I went, this
Oh,
doesn't sound
okay.
right. And I started hitting the books.
Wow.
So that's how that happened. So I don't anymore. Afterwards, we had somebody call on me with my son, an incident with my son, and then later my son had an intervention when the child walked out the back door. And a lady literally, this is before everybody had cell phones, a lady literally picked up an 18-month-old walking on the sidewalk, picked him up, put him in her car, and drove to a payphone instead of honking her horn and hollering, who does this baby belong to?
Yeah, I'm
She drove him
jealous.
out of the area. So we are extremely lucky that everything was fine and the woman had the right intentions, if not the right method. Um,
That's right.
but Gavin got himself out of CPS because my son called me just panicking, and it was just before payday, and he knew his shelves were a little light. So I emptied my shelves and freezer, ran over to his house with all this extra food. He was almost 21, and he had alcohol in the house. So we got that out to my trunk. And while this, oh, and he had baby safe on everything.
Roz, there's a question there
Oh,
for you from Carrie.
Yeah, I'll catch you in a minute. And
this is your son,
when
right? Son.
the case, yeah, this was my son and my grandson. And in the middle of it, we told this lady that my grandson loves to go for walks. And while the caseworker is sitting there, Gavin walks up to me, takes my hand, pulls me, he heads for the door and says, walk.
Oh, well, that makes total sense to me. Like that's,
And he
good.
wanted me to take him for a walk right then. And I just looked at the caseworker and I said, see? She said everybody did everything fine. They closed it out immediately. It was just an accident. And the police report that went along with it showed that my son had done everything. They walked into the house where my son was helping his friend with a home repair and saw that every piece of furniture in the house was overturned.
Was protected. That's good. Was baby ties, or what do they call it? It's like
They looked
yeah.
everywhere for Gavin. So instead of just looking behind the couch, he turned the couch upside down. The chairs were upside down. The beds were all pulled away from the wall and put up on their sides. It took him an hour to put the house back together.
Yeah.
But the people who he was visiting didn't mind.
Good.
So that was the interaction we had, and then again when my grandkids had to go in, and they left them in a dangerous situation for 5 months, just because of me. So my interaction with them has all been post me getting involved because of a friend. What is my opinion on what motives these workers to be grimy and corrupt? Personal defect, power hungry, or traumatized in their own life by child abuse. That's why I think every caseworker should have to have a complete psychological evaluation before they're given the job.
I totally agree.
I've told the story. I'm not going to tell it again because I think most everybody here has heard it. With the caseworker that I referred to as John the rapist, because he saw sex offense behind every tree.
Oh, wow.
There are caseworkers who see abuse when a child has bruises on their shin. The child has road rash down their side, and the arm on that side is broken. It's not abuse, he fell off his bike. Okay? And the caseworkers that constantly see the abuse, those are the ones that are the problem. They say that approximately 10% of caseworkers are bad.
Yeah.
And there's also been like so
they tend
many.
to be in hives. That's because
Well, I mean,
that's the only one we see, Vinny.
Yeah.
You know,
We don't
that's
see
so
the ones
sad.
that walk in with the we don't see the caseworkers, the cases that walk in when there's a line of Coke on the coffee table and a 2-year-old running around.
I know.
We don't see those.
I know.
We don't. I think that's a more rare situation, but I don't know. I don't even think in those situations DCF gets called for some reason, or CPS gets called, and that's what's so devastating.
They do.
But
They do.
right.
But I've heard a case where a husband and wife were doing crack, and CPS visited them, and they let them keep their kids, and they were living in a hotel.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Nothing wrong with living in a hotel.
No, but they pick and choose who they want to go after.
They do. It seems like
Think they do?
but yeah, they do. And
And
Ron,
it goes back
what you were
to-
saying. Sorry, go ahead.
It goes back to what I said, power and bullying. They know
That's
who's
right.
weak, and that's who they'll pick on. And Carrie, I don't necessarily think it's in any kind of training manual or anything. I mean, I tell the story of one county where the workers had never even seen a training manual. They actually, after I paid for it, looked at mine. and I had to teach them how to, some of the policy and procedures that they weren't following. But I think, do you know what the PETA principle is?
PETA, P-I-T-A?
PETA principle. The PETA principle is being promoted to the level of your incompetence.
To your
And I
incompetence?
think many times that's what's happening in children's services. The really good people leave.
They leave because their morals and
They're
their
not going to be
integrity
part of it.
the best of them. I agree with that. I've seen a lot of different workers, or they become whistleblowers, and they say, as soon as I saw what was going on, I couldn't do it anymore. I thought I was going in to help children. I thought I was going in to help. This is our society. And Martin's eating, so I didn't know if you guys could. I'm sitting here yelling at Martin to stop eating, so he's not being loud. But it's such a shame. I think that there's such great turnover too, and with turnover comes a new person. And when there's new people, they don't know the case, they get scared. Whether they're educated or not, there's still that fear factor that they might not be protecting a kid, all of that. But I think that you're right when you mention you just brought up such a good topic of well, what was it? Oh, now I just lost my train of thought right in the middle of
principle?
the conversation. Huh?
The PETA principle?
Well, not the PETA. It was way long before I tried to hold on to it. But it's okay. I agree with Carrie. I don't know, Roz. I think that these people, I think that they're taught a whole litany of rules that we don't know about. That
I think
maybe
it's more the bullying and the fear factor. Miss Young social worker, what do you mean you couldn't find anything in that house?
Yes, exactly. And then
I don't know what you're going to do. It's not that there's a manual, and it's not that there's official training. It's that the bad caseworkers who stick around and go to the next level, become supervisors, then because they were such good bulliers at the lower level, now they're bullying their own people.
Exactly.
I've seen that with the workers too, because the one supervisor on the case that's been on the case now for like 6 months total. They haven't changed her at all. It's been the same supervisor. She bullies all the workers underneath her, and when they don't do what she wants, she changes them.
And there's case law about that, but that's exactly right. I think that they are financially incentivized. You guys know that. And I think that they do hold each other.
Who's financially incentivized?
Say that again?
Who's financially incentivized?
Well, here it's pretty drawn out on paper. Clearly, the workers that are financially incentivized using the funding that comes from the $29.9 billion each year, the 2,000
You're going to have to show me that. You are going to have to show me that. I've been fighting that for 20 years. They're union workers.
I know. Believe me.
Makes the same money.
Well, actually, the people who are working at the entities who work with DCF or work with CPS are not so much in a union. They work for they are private entities, and they contract to do the reunification services. And
okay.
I'll talk with because I don't think that this should
an agency outside. I've always said the service agencies are the ones who make the money, not CPS.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
And they work together. But yeah, I agree. But they're all and they're nonprofit. They work together. They're contracted with one another. But they are. It's very hard thing for me to justify. I don't even think it's something we should really discuss because that's not how we get people on our side. To talk about that.
But what I would say back where we started in with the legislatures and so forth, you need to get a hold of those contracts and see how they're being overpaid. Plus, what I always advise is
Yeah.
any service provider you put on a stand when you're your own lawyer, when you're being your own attorney, you always ask, so what percentage of your company's revenue or your practice's revenue comes from CPS?
Roz,
The follow-up
is there a
question
way
is,
of
with that
doing the
high a
judge?
percentage, how can you not be biased?
Right, exactly. What about the judge? Can we ask him, can we put him on the same?
Oh, he'll hear it. You can't ask the judge any question.
I know. That's, I faced everything from a place of ignorance. I've only started learning all of this afterward, and it's devastating because when your children are taken, when your children are being held at ransom, it's like you're held. It's like holding your. It's almost like holding your. It's holding you in a position where all you can do is comply with what they're saying and or
Yeah.
what you're told, and it's a very precarious position to be in because you don't really get to fight for what's right. You just do what they say, and
Right.
still, if they don't want you to have your kids, even if you do what they say, you won't. It's so, so Herbert is right as far as like, don't get involved. But when you do, what do we do? And I think you have the exact right idea, Vinny too, as far as, and Carrie, I think it is, we need to find another solution. Something that is really outside of the box.
What
Right.
we need
And
to
I
do,
say that pulling their records, okay, and knowing what their money is and where it goes, is
And it's
extremely
public.
important. Carrie, did Sean happen to say what state that was? Is he still only working in California? Um, because California, many of their counties have contracted out to private companies, and those
Yeah.
caseworkers may have separate salaries. But your garbage men all make the same amount of money for the time they've been there. And it's no different. It's union. Everybody makes $20 an hour until they hit 5 years. And then they get $22 an hour. You know how unions work.
That's exactly
It
right.
doesn't matter if you're a good employee or a bad employee. You make the same money.
And you make good money doing that. That's not bad money.
I'm just using that as an example. I mean, my dad's company, he had both the Teamsters and the UAW try to get into the plant where he worked, where he retired from. They couldn't do it. You know why? Because the boss would walk down and see that your coworker was sleeping under the stairs, which is what happened to my dad. He was a maintenance worker, and my dad was always busy. So the guy the owner of the company walked by and said, "John, good job. I saw you're working hard. I'm giving you 5 cents an hour."
so Carrie said it was a
For a
couple days
union,
ago.
you can't do that.
It was a couple days ago, and it was for investigating workers and from the Title IV funding they received.
Title IV. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but the Title IV doesn't pay directly to workers.
No.
Can you imagine the federal government if they had to cut a check to every caseworker in the country?
Title IV
No.
funding goes straight to the government.
That was funny.
They go
Yeah.
to the state, or in my case, the county. And it can be contracted out, in which case the Title IV money goes to the state or the county, and then they pay the contractor. Now, I have pulled contractors. And I said, why are you paying this much of a premium?
Carrie, I think their salary determination is based on what they've learned, because the new worker on our case alone is making $56,000 in a year, and she just got out of college last year.
Well, that's her base
That's
salary.
standard.
So,
Yeah, that's her base salary.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
that's not
like
bad.
no, that's a good. They do. I mean, remember my caseworker and my and her boss said to me, Mandy, we quit because I was teaching. I took a teaching job. I thought that was a good mom job while I was doing it. And they said, we quit. We came in and did. They just told me how much money they were making, so they quit like mid-semester their teaching jobs, and we're kind of excited about what they were making. However, what we're led to believe here in Florida is that, and this is not like the whole crux of it. We're kind of like being the gossip hour, but is that they are incentivized per child, per situation, and it grows in number depending on what happens by Title IV funding. I guess that's where it comes from. I don't know that. This is only hearsay. They are incentivized to put children in foster care. What I experienced though was
Terminate parent parental rights.
yes, of course. Like the higher you get, like if it goes to adoption, yay. But what I noticed was that my social worker tended to, and she was a smart girl, but she set out this platform, this forum of distrust. She told me that she would tell me that um, my sister and I were not talking because everything, and my sister was going to be my surrogate mother, not only just a year before. She was going to have a baby for me, but then she took my son, which it was just very strange. The whole thing, none of it was approved. It was bad. But what happened is that they kept telling my sister that I would say something and then tell me that she said something, and we would both get like upset about it. We were told not to communicate. We were told they tended to, and this was around the board, they tended to create this platform of distrust where family members who always trusted each other did not trust each other. Like they kind of they were instigators of argument. Have you guys heard that or had that experience?
I've heard
Yes.
I've heard of them having incentives. Yes.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Now, again, that's not going to be your county workers. That's going to be contracted. Okay?
Right. Exactly.
When you have the contracted caseworkers, usually those companies also foster.
Yes.
So you have a caseworker watching the child in the home. When my grandkids were in foster care, they had it was called the 12 was the name of the agency. The 12 had a caseworker on them, okay, as well as their caseworker here in Cleveland, who deferred to the 12.
It's so ironic who they'll have. I had multiple people call me and ask me to be a foster parent just the year before my kids were. It's just, the whole thing is so ironic, but yeah, it is. That's an intermingling of conflict, don't you think? I mean, I just don't think that is. How can someone be so grounded in themselves that they can separate their feelings and their emotions from a foster child and from someone that they're being a social worker for? Because if it's a child involved, there are natural feelings that come about of love and taking care of and nurturing and protection. How can you say that that's not a conflict of interest? That doesn't make sense to me, Roz. I don't.
I don't like when caseworkers also foster. They usually are not their only caseworker, but I think it's terrible when they also foster. I mean, the
How
first
can you be
one,
effective?
right? And the thing is, according to Title IV, you have to. The agency is supposed to reunify, and my state actually has policy and procedures that say that the foster caregiver must also agree with the goal.
Here too, but it seemed to be the exact opposite. I think that they
And
really,
again, I think that you need to go to the judge.
Yeah, because their
Go
policy,
right
Yeah.
around.
their policy procedure here says the same thing, that they are to reunify, and they don't even follow by that.
They don't. You're right. It's those rules, both of you, like those rules just seem to be squashed, walked over, dismissed, and it seems like they've really gotten into the law of what's everyone else doing now? What do we, there's a log of some. It's like the a rule of what everyone's doing now. It's kind of like someone can maybe correct me, but it's like well, if all of our cases are doing this, then that makes it okay, because that just kind of makes it what everyone's doing. I heard so many lawyers, because I was not, I was a squeaky wheel, very, and I got nothing. I mean, I think I got pushed away and pushed back because of that, because they were like, just shut her up. But they said, we don't do that. And when I would come to them and read statutes and read things, they would say, oh no, but that's not how we do it. Oh, well, what they really mean is this, or what that actually is saying. It was like, I had a safety plan, but there was nothing written on it. It was nothing. Just blank page. And they're like, well, what that really is saying is, and they would sign it. And
Well, my answer to that would be to make sure that is an attachment on a motion to dismiss.
I wish I had known enough. He knew enough. I just did. I was so ignorant and blind. I mean, I'm the one, I went and told them. I mean, I really just gave them a case, but like in a place where it never needed to be. It was just because I'm in recovery, so I tend to tell on myself or take the blame or take ownership so as not to be a victim. Well, don't do that with people who are not, like in recovery, or are not aware of what living a healthy life looks like, because they will take it and they will use it against you. They really will.
No one's perfect, Medea, and that's what they don't seem to understand, is not even the workers are perfect. They all make mistakes. They all have flaws. None of us were created equal.
Isn't it funny? Yeah. They say that you have to be good enough, but really, if you're under their guise, and this is the truth, and maybe it should be this way, but it's their philosophy can say that you just have to be good enough, but if you're not perfect while in their program, you're not going to get your kids back, and who knows what that means.
And that's what we need to change. That's what we need to focus on.
Right.
I think that we need to change.
Just so, because we were talking about it earlier, I've been researching while we're talking here.
Oh, good.
In my county, you are part of the AFSCME union, 1746. Your starting pay for a, what do they call this? Child Protection Specialist, Social Worker 3. Okay? Starting pay is $26.78 an hour, and it will increase to $27.32 an hour. And it's on the road. Yeah, it's going out to homes. Minimum requirements are a bachelor's degree in social work or a field related to social work, such as sociology, psychology, counseling, criminal justice, criminology, etc., or a bachelor's degree in a non-related field and 2 years experience working in a social service capacity. Must possess a valid Ohio driver's license and have use of an insured automobile.
And it
That's
seems
what it
like,
takes to work for in
yeah,
my county.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, that seems pretty typical for. I think that's probably a universal qualification guideline. Do you
Right.
think so, Vinny, in Maine?
Um, I'm sure I could get my hands on it. I've been doing some research myself the past couple of days, and I've come across some information that kind of shocked me because I didn't realize that they were allowed to violate you so hard like this. And that was they are using this Katahdin program throughout my entire case.
Yeah.
They've been using what?
It's the AI software. It's an artificial
Oh, that
intelligence.
AI software you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
they are in
I
fact
would
using
really
it.
like to,
They are in fact
yeah.
using it throughout my case, from what my criminal attorney told me.
But have you looked at how they input the information for it to work on your case?
They put in my social security number and all my information, and it searches through the whole entire database. Which means if I had convictions when I was a minor child, it pulls it, and it
Are you
flags me.
aware of the fact that crimes cannot be used against you, at least in kinship care, that are over 10 years old?
But they did. They brought it up in court at my
Mine too.
my second hearing for my criminal case. They brought it up and said, well, he has this on his record. And it was after 20
So it's
years.
10 years?
This was after
Mine too.
my record's been clean for 20 years.
And that's what you bring up more than anything else.
Okay.
Because you know what they say, it is, or at least in most states, they don't call it their prison system. They call it correction and rehabilitation system. Okay? And I just look at them and say, and the same thing for them holding against that you were in foster care. What? You didn't fix it?
I can
Right.
explain a little bit on our criminal system and the jails since I was there. I'll actually touch base on that a little bit here. In their jails, their services are not many at all. They offer, okay, Bible study, yes, once a week. They have classes once a week, and that's only if you sign up. They don't enforce you to do them. And you are on lockdown more than 12 hours a day.
Wow. It's so ironic because I used to take those meetings into the jails, for recovery and stuff, and was the counselor. I think I mentioned last night, in a neighboring county, and it's so the whole thing. There's just a lot of hypocrisy, but I think that, like we were saying earlier, it's good intentioned. But yeah, they used stuff against me too that was over 10 years, long over 10 years. Well, like 12 years. And but it just didn't apply to me anymore, because when I was going through what I went through at that age, I wasn't in recovery, so it really didn't apply. And that's what they used as a basis, and it was just disappointing.
See, but what they don't realize is they're not getting the full aspect of my case. They're getting bits and pieces from a worker at the youth center at the time that I was in.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
That was fired because she was caught having sexual relations with another person.
Well, yeah, that's a no-no.
Okay, Vinny, it's up to you to go back and find that news article and get it on the court record.
I have all the copies of when they published me out to the public and put it on the news channels. I have all that information.
Good. Then you have it to use it. Get it in the back of a motion. Okay? As an affidavit. Put it in as an affidavit. But that and the ones that's going to hold that against you more than anybody else is Children's Services.
Yes, that's
You're gonna
right.
be able to tell them, that this is what happened.
And,
Yeah.
and see, the other part of this is that, like, they told me, they're like, oh, you need to do drug and alcohol assessment. Okay, well, when I was a minor, I did what was called then, it was a form of AA. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But I did it when I was,
Al-Anon?
huh?
Al-Anon is for kids of drug addicts, of addicts.
Well, back then I was a heavy alcoholic. I was,
Oh, you were.
I was a,
Okay. I don't know what they have then.
I was a drink until I fell down and passed out.
You were just an alcoholic, but they had some type of group to help you. They
Yep.
got you
For
into a group. So
teens.
anytime, yeah, like Alateen or whatever it is, but I think
Alateen.
that's just such a it's a harsh way to go into it, because if I'm so hard-headed, if someone had told me to go into AA of their accord and not my own, I never would have made it. I think we mentioned that the
It
other
never
night.
works.
I just couldn't. It wouldn't have worked. I
You
am so.
have to do it for yourself.
And that's a blessing for me, is that I did find it on my own. I had to, because I wouldn't have, if I had found myself in a program like the one where I was counseling for people in, I'm like, gosh, I don't know how you guys do this. And I would try to encourage them and say, this is so good for you. And you always have to think about it as I'm planting seeds, but I didn't think for a second most of them would ever make it, because if they were anything like me, they needed to find it on their own.
That's what I did.
Kind of,
I set up my counseling on my own. I set up the drug and alcohol assessment on my own. I did not have CPS help me.
That's not what she's saying, Vinny. What she's saying is you can't, chances of recovery working, because you're never cured.
Well,
recovery working is you want it for yourself. You're not doing it because a caseworker told you to do it.
Right.
Right. You weren't like assigned.
We're talking about you're doing it yourself.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is I did everything for myself. It wasn't because they wanted me to do it. I did it for me.
Good.
Yeah.
And keep that. That's good.
Yeah,
And
I set up my counseling way before they even said anything.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And that's so good. And keep that mind frame. Know that you went in there for yourself. No matter what they say to you, you went in there for yourself, and for your child, fine, but for yourself first. And that is everything.
Right.
And I did 2 parenting classes. I did, one that was based off of co-parenting, and then I did the other one.
Oh, good.
So I had 2 parenting classes underneath me before they even said, "Oh, you got to do parenting classes."
I know.
And you done,
that's
which is
good.
Awesome.
Thank
when
goodness.
you start talking about AI doing things,
it searches
I want to know more. See the gray hair? I don't trust it.
I don't either, because it flags you. It gives you points every time it finds your record.
Now, here's the thing. Some people call it AI when it's just a calculating program.
Basically, yeah.
Here, for years, as long as I've been in this, they had, what did they call it? It was some kind of model. And
like algorithm type thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like an algorithm, but you had to put in the information yourself.
Thank you, Carrie. I
So
appreciate
what was the risk factor for this line? And then at the end, it gave you what the total risk was.
Oh gosh,
child,
that's not right. Yeah.
And I hope that that's not what they're calling AI. That is human based.
Well,
that's what I said. I want to see this AI.
There's always been we will always have AI, and now they're just making it more public and much. I remember
what they call it.
Yeah, but see,
we've always had matrix.
See, here
The
that it's
DMM,
it's saying that
decision-making matrix.
that the program they're using is failing the system because it's not doing they're not doing their jobs anymore. They're allowing this computer to take over and tell them what to do in their job.
And it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be nurtured in a healthy way, not in the way of like using it to like do someone's job or to like affect our lives. It's really, really scary and abusive, probably what they're doing. I'm kind of
It's
scared just hearing about it. I'm like,
it's essentially
because
according to the Constitution, it's essentially against the law because it's a big violation and treason by them. For the simple
I
fact
agree.
that they're supposed to be using this program only for the initial report that someone makes.
Right. They're supposed to aid their jobs, not do their jobs.
Right.
Assist in doing rather than yes. And AI is great for that. Great for that. However, we are human and we add our own error and abuse things. And so that's probably what's happening, and that's scary.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, like, whose AI was it? Google's, I think, where they asked for images of presidents, and they all came out with pictures of black people.
There you go. Carrie just said it. It exactly does that.
I do not trust AI. Now, a template, Carrie, this sounds more like a template setup, where it matches your state's thing. Like, there's a lot of sites that do that. But they don't write the motion for you.
right. But if it's just something where
depended on it for, he answered a bunch of questions, and when he came out with, I laughed at.
I figured I would hear you say that at some point because yeah, it's all about interpretation, and AI is not yet to a point where it understands innuendo or it doesn't understand like the subtext, or I can't think of the word right now, but that's really what
the base of it can be too manipulated.
Yes, and it can be manipulated because you can give your opinion and your point of view to AI, and AI will take your side. AI will take your side, and it will make it so that that's how it is.
Wow.
In fact, rather than,
Now,
so
that sounds more like a specific search type program more than an AI.
Very, very conversational, and you can give it. I don't know what I'm missing the wording, so I guess I'm stepping into something I'm missing. But AI will take what you tell it as fact and implement it as such, because AI is almost like a little kid, where kids are approval seekers, and a kid will want to make you happy, and AI will do the same thing if you're guiding it.
Exactly.
That made a lot of sense what Carrie just said, though.
What did she say? I missed it, guys.
She said,
what is it? Will you read?
We enter in details and issues of a case, and it gave us a option we didn't find in our research, and we double check it if the option given by the AI was even possible, and it is. It was conversational.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's AI. It's very conversational, but that still doesn't pick up on innuendo. I don't know what she's saying. Is she saying that she had what kind of experience? It was conversational, and we double checked.
She had a good one. Yeah.
She had a good experience. I've had good experiences with AI. I mean, if you delve deep enough, it can be a little bit, it can be limiting, it can be detrimental, but it can be good. If it's used for the proper purposes, it's a good thing. It really is. I mean, a really good thing. But if they're using it, if they're exploiting the AI, if they're using it to do their job and make the decisions of an investigator, which maybe that's preferable, I don't know, then it becomes exploitative and harmful and detrimental, you know,
It's
dangerous.
no different. It's no different than any other computer thing. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, yeah. But we're
Now,
the ones who tell it which is garbage and what's not. You know what I mean? So it's like
yeah.
it's really difficult right now.
Now I have a question that's totally off topic, everyone. It is coming up. We've hit the hour mark.
Oh
It is
yes,
10 minutes
it
to
is. It's
10
way late.
Eastern time.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes still.
What time do you want to break off so we don't miss the speech?
I think we should go ahead and break off, right, guys? You guys have been awesome. Vinny, you're such a neat like addition to this show. I mean like I talk from like I just watching both of you. I'm intrigued by both of you. I just never said that to you, Vinny, but and then the interaction. I think it's great, and I think we probably should cut off because it's 9:50. We did good, guys.
Yeah.
Darren
I
will
was
be
hoping
proud.
Darren would be back by now because he said 20 minutes, but I haven't seen him.
Yeah, and if you look up here, those who are on, I don't know, I'm on a laptop. I won't use my phone if I can avoid it. There he is. If I
I've gotta
won't use
get
it at all, I'm looking at the
Oh,
time.
there he is.
They're up here.
Hey, Darren.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you do well. Was it a good show tonight? I'm sorry I wasn't here. I'm actually still in the middle of class, but
I think it's been the best show that there ever was, Darren. This is like when people were writing in. The show's never been so good as it is tonight.
Good. That's good. I'm glad everybody had a good time. Everybody learned so much.
We had some good discussions.
We did.
We did.
I did what before we do end and do our final closings. I was talking to Herbert about this last night, and I know he's not here tonight.
Yeah, where is Herbert?
But I was talking to Herbert.
Yes, Carrie, you guys are all good without me. Perfect.
I was talking to Herbert about how, we need to all kind of on the same page and look at, each county, each state's policies and procedures, so that way we all know and we're all on the same page to what policies are working and what policies they're not.
Right.
Well, I mean, clearly there's not many that are.
There's a few that are. They are abiding by some of them, but they're not abiding by the ones that are most important.
Well, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like when you look at this whole thing as a whole. Title IV has it down perfectly almost. They have it down to where the money is supposed to go, how it's supposed to be given out. It says where it's supposed to go, and the only way that it's supposed to go there. The problem is that the people that are involved in applying this money to these places are lying. They're telling you, they're lying to not only to us as the parents, but they're also lying to the federal government, saying that they're upholding their end of the bargain and they're doing things right, by lying to them, saying that because all they've done is they've thrown you into this counseling class. There you go. We get money for this, even though you'll go to court most of the time and the judge will say, well, this counselor wasn't for this. But you're sitting there going, wait a minute, but we were, supplied this counselor, they make you leave. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things that from A to B are perfect, but from B to C, they're not getting there. So like, for instance, if they come to your house and they say, wow, your housing is inefficient, it's not good. Okay, well, they're supposed to be fixing your housing for you. They're not supposed to be saying, oh, well, you're out of here in this. They're supposed to be, if not applying those funds to fix your situation
or helping you
new housing,
or helping you get a new place. Yeah, you're right, Darren.
They're not doing any of the things that they're
does
supposed
not
to do. Because this stuff is supposed to be to help you as a family grow stronger and grow together. That's what the Title IV funding is for.
Together, right.
But they're
And
not
the
doing
problem is the attorneys aren't trained well enough to know this. We can't get to them fast enough. Yeah, sure.
That's
I mean,
Lynn.
I
Ross,
want to go with you, Darren.
Yeah, Darren.
Yeah, no, it's not me.
Oh, it says host.
I think that we all
night.
we want to say we can't in some way we can't abolish CPS, but I'm at a point where I'm thinking we have to, because I think that it'd be better
Massive
off.
reform. We can,
Right.
we
Well, I
like
don't.
a massive reform.
It's for, like, I have a 43-page bill. I'll send it to you, Roz, that I've written that talks about the complete dismantling of abolishing CPS, but proactively rebuilding a system that comes right up behind it from scratch.
Yeah.
Like, let's start back from ground zero and let's figure out what's working and what the needs are of these parents. Because if statistics are right, then what statistics say is the parents that are needing this help aren't getting it anyway. So we need to reach out to the parents and families that
Not
need
in any
this,
way.
get the true stuff, that the counseling, the money, and all of that, and put it in that direction. And then let's focus on these people like myself, like everybody that's here, that, you know what, there was no reason for what happened here, but
Yeah,
it did
yeah.
happen.
And then
So
put
let's
people
fix
on
this
the
why
board.
now. You know, like that's what
Like
needs to
what?
happen.
I agree
I
with
have a federal report that I can extrapolate out what states are using their money most efficiently. In
Right.
other words, by percentage of kids in foster care, they're using the rest of the money then for in-home, which should always be better anyhow.
Right.
Agreed.
Rehabbing a family in place is going to teach more than having the kids out.
Right.
Now, Mandy, you're into
I'm
addiction
case.
counseling type thing. You know what? You can get a mom clean and unstressed, and she's never going to use again, she swears. But then they bring in the 3 kids, including the 10-year-old boy with ADHD, and what's going to happen?
Are you talking about my family exactly?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, here's the thing. Check this. Here's the thing. The first no-no, or the first thing that's required in recovery is a strong nucleus, a strong bond, a strong support. And what they do is they immediately dismantle that. CPS takes that apart from you. If you're using as a father, they remove you from the home. If you're using as a mother, they take your family away from you. They do all of these things that are absolutely ineffective in the world of recovery. It's not the way to do things.
Darren, now Martin.
Effective,
Darren,
you have to have a nucleus and a solid foundation, and they take that away. So how can they effectively say that they're trying to help a family recover together when they're not doing the right things?
Or like in Vinny's case, you have to have independent housing.
Yeah.
Well,
when you have older parents, that might not be the best thing. We're going to go from child abuse and neglect to elder abuse and neglect.
Right.
You can't just say to help out the parents.
Right. So then what needs to be done is they need to go back to their own drawing board. I don't know what just happened there, but they need to go back to their own drawing board and put Title IV funding on a map right there. And then what they do and how they act with those funds, what they're supposed to do with it, what they're not doing with it. And then, do like a little line thing. Okay, if there's substance abuse, they're supposed to do this, this, and this to achieve their funding to the max, yada, yada, yada. And it's supposed to do this. And they need to match up with what science is saying needs to happen. Why is nobody looking at these studies for the harm of removal? Every study that they've done about a child being removed from the home, even if the child is getting the shit kicked out of them every day, still removal from the home is more traumatic than what they're dealing with in the home. So why are they removing children at a moment's notice because they fell down and stubbed their toe, and they're going to say that they weren't paying attention to them? It doesn't make sense. Their actions are not
now we have Martin talking.
It doesn't work.
Because they want to sell the kids.
Yeah, well, yes. Can I give Roz a little bit of background just because I haven't been able to say, I just want her to know, and Vinny, just a little bit, it's very similar with yours and mine, where what happened, our situation, there was, they didn't know about any substance abuse. I was actually going through postpartum 5 weeks after I gave birth. It was a miracle birth. It was just a really neat situation, but I was going through postpartum and COVID went in a line with it. So we were dealing with COVID and having the baby and adjusting to having my older two, not by birth, but by choice.
There was no nothing to do with any substance.
Yeah, there were no substances. I'm the one who said to the DCF person that I drink. I said, the reason I was arrested is because I chose to drink. I was really blunt because I did. It had been 5 weeks. I hadn't been doing meetings, and I hadn't been doing meetings before that either. So I was really I was going through postpartum COVID. It was very very high. It was very highly volatile for me, and I ended up choosing to drink at 5.5 weeks postpartum, and I got arrested the same night. That's what happens usually when I drink. It's not a cute picture, but I admitted that to the person that I met from DCF or CPS, and they used it rather than being like a knowing social worker and saying, "Oh, that's good for you," because I mean I went right back into meetings. I got myself help right away, and rather than recognizing that, they turned it all against us.
That's what they do. Yep.
Well, I told them. I also told them that like we would like to seek out their help and get counseling and stuff, and utilize what they had available for us. And they were like,
Oh, no problem.
yeah. At first they were like, okay, well,
I did everything wrong.
Yeah, and then all they did was just take the kids.
Though we did everything right, it was turned
So
around.
you guys know this. If you want to talk about policies and procedures, here's one for you. I'm pretty sure I don't have it right with me right now, but and I know Roz is chopping at the bit because Mr. Trump's going to be on here in a second. But as far as the American States Families Act work, did you know that if you're in counseling, if you are already in substance abuse counseling and you're dealing with sobriety on your own and you're already handling this, that they are not supposed to mess with you. They're supposed to leave you aside. They have a pretentious plan to check on you soon.
Children are in danger. They're not supposed to. You're absolutely right.
There was no danger. There was no danger at all, and they did an emergency removal. My kids have never, but they did an emergency removal.
And we were like, as long as you're in recovery, they're supposed to walk away and leave you alone.
I gave them my sponsor's phone number, my second sponsors, because I got a new sponsor because I had to work through the steps again because it had been years since I'd had anything to drink. What?
I just completed 2 years.
Yeah, Martin had gone through. That's how we knew DCF, because Martin had gone through reunification and got his kids back. The only man to ever go through this.
In this
it was a big deal, but it was taken
to not the only one.
Oh, in this area.
No.
Right,
Just the only father in this area to go through this program alone without, and get the kids back. It was a big deal around here, and it was a big deal for him too. He did great, and he was like the
Congratulations.
star. Yeah. I come along and I drink one night and all hell breaks loose. It's like I was yelling at him, and my neighbor had never heard that, and she called the police, and that was it. That was all she wrote. And people were in very high.
If everything was okay.
What's that?
I hate nosy neighbors. She couldn't just come over and say, "Is everything okay?"
No.
Right.
I know. Whoa. I mean, I would love to go and have
ladies, we need to wrap it.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, we should talk about it sometime because it was really there wasn't much justice.
Maybe we should pick up tomorrow where we left off tonight.
At this point,
yeah.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Thanks, guys. I had fun with you guys. Benny, Roz, you were awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, I'm going to do it just like this. I'm the CPS Punisher. We're all out of here. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.